Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is your boy Jay Riddy, and if you are listening to the sound of my voice, you are tuned into Marking Out Amongst Friends, episode 5. I am here tonight marking out with my friend, Lady Great One. She is joining us back. Everybody, give a shout out to Lady Great One in the building with us tonight. Say hello to the people.
Hey, what's up, everybody? How is we all doing tonight? Me, I'm just chilling, about to get my wrestling on. You know what I mean?
And we figured to do you. All right, all right. It's been an eventful week in wrestling this week, isn't it? I mean, the road to WrestleMania, it started off a little hot, but then, things just kind of boiled over this week. Got a couple of things to talk about. First and foremost, the biggest story in wrestling right now. I don't know if anybody has been under a rock or you don't have internet or phone service or television or you just don't interact with people. But the top story this week, Daniel Bryan, after 2 long years of trying and going to physician after physician, to doctor after doctor, and being turned down multiple times, Daniel Bryan has now been medically cleared to compete in WWE. Wow, this was a day that I thought would never, ever come. For those who are not familiar with Daniel Bryan, the leader of the Yes Movement, multiple time champion, defeated all of Evolution in one night, WrestleMania years to go, to become the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Indy Darling, widely renowned as one of the greatest wrestlers in the world, and now you can add to the list father of a child. So he has been. This is one of my favorite personal wrestlers in this new generation, and it's really just good to see him back. It puts a lot of stuff into perspective on what he can do. Even my wife, who is not really a huge wrestling fan, was excited to hear that Daniel Bryan was coming back. And before things played out on his show SmackDown this week, she even came up with a scenario where Daniel Bryan actually replaces The Undertaker and goes against John Cena at WrestleMania. So, I mean, Daniel Bryan throws a wrench into every situation in WrestleMania coming up in 2 weeks here. Toya, how do you feel about this move, Daniel Bryan returning the ring?
Well, personally, yes, 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 yes. Okay, I could go on and on for days with the Yes Movement because this is like the best news ever.
I was pointing my fingers with you. You can't see me, but I was with
you. Oh my gosh, that was such like the greatest thing to happen in the last 2 years. Welcome back, Daniel Bryan is absolutely awesome. So I don't know if anybody else has been under a rock, like you said before, or what, but if you didn't hear this news, it broke everywhere. It broke on USA Today, TMZ, all kinds of media outlets, ESPN even put an eye towards it. But yes, Daniel Bryan is back. Welcome back home. For real this time, not just as a GM.
Absolutely. I mean, it was a lot of stuff going on. If you guys didn't know, this news actually broke Tuesday of this week. SmackDown, Daniel Bryan announced his return in front of a live crowd. And I just can't. Can you imagine being in the crowd? You bought your ticket to SmackDown. This is going to be a normal SmackDown for you. You think you're going to see the Yep Movement. You're going to see a little Jinder Mahal, a little Bobby Roode, a little Dolph Ziggler. And the day that you are prepared for the show, Daniel Bryan, the news breaks that he comes back. Can you just imagine being in the crowd that night, like just being excited to go to SmackDown that night? I mean, it had to just be an epic feeling. For those who didn't know, Daniel Bryan, when he announced his return on the show. He opened up the show. They played a video package. Everybody got misty-eyed. We learned Daniel Bryan's struggle. He got really, really personal, like Daniel Bryan tends to do, and it was just everyone was invested. with me personally, man, I could see him going anywhere. But it looks like he's gonna keep going towards this whole Shane McMahon versus Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn type thing that's going on here. If you guys didn't see the end of SmackDown this week, Daniel Bryan also took a bump on his first night back, taking one of those apron power bombs, one of that devastating maneuver. Took that from Kevin Owens before the night was over. Lady Great One, did you get a chance to see what happened on SmackDown?
Actually, I did. He did take a rough bump there at the end, but it kind of makes me wonder, did they find out before yesterday or before they broke the news? Did he be able to do that so they could kind of edit that into the story? I'm not sure.
That they've known. I'm 100% with you. Go ahead.
I agree with you. I think that they had something because they had nothing really for Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I mean, really, how are you going to put them two in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal for them to flop? You know, you want to pit them against Shane. Okay, it's going to be a 2-on-1 handicap match. We've seen this before. Well, it was actually 1-on-1, but then since it was a no DQ match, of course, Sami Zayn came out to rush to the aid of his best friend. But having him cleared just in the nick of time, right here before WrestleMania, there's something up with that, but I love it. Absolutely love it.
And you brought up an interesting point. I think that they've probably known for some time, and I think that this is the story being leaked Tuesday was to kind of generate some buzz, I think, which, successful mission on that part. But I think it was just to generate a buzz. I think Daniel Bryan might have been considered medically cleared a long time ago, and I think that the news is just breaking out. And it's funny that you mentioned that because I think about, you started noticing he's growing the hair back out a little bit like he did when he was, when he was active in the ring. When Daniel Bryan, the GM, first started, he's clean cut, barely any facial hair there. I mean, it was there, but it wasn't like the beard, so to speak. You see over the last couple of months, he's taken more and more part of that whole storyline, defending the Yet movement from Shane McMahon, growing the hair out a little more. I felt it coming, and a lot of people wished for it to come. And I don't think that people actually thought that it was really going to happen, but the signs were out there. Even WWE is capitalizing on the website right now. I don't know if you guys have been there, but if you can visit WWE.com, they actually have an article right now of 5 dream matches for Daniel Bryan. What's a dream match? I mean, there's a lot of matches he could do. This really opens up not just for WrestleMania, but for after. We got Shinsuke Nakamura in WWE now. We got AJ Styles in WWE now. Of course, Owens and Zayn, if it was 1-on-1 outside of this situation, both of those epic matches could occur right now. We could get the Architect Seth Rollins in his form right now. We can get the Demon Finn Balor versus Daniel Bryan right now. It's a lot of possibilities. What's a dream match that you guys would want to see? Or how about you, Lady Great One? What would be a dream match that you would want to see with Daniel Bryan?
Well, before I get to the dream match thing, there was something I was just thinking about. Maybe they had Daniel Bryan already cleared because what if Taker decides not to do WrestleMania with Cena? Just like you were saying before. So they had to have some other big attraction to fill out the card. So maybe that was just a wild card that they had up their sleeves to keep the swerves coming for WrestleMania to make it even more awesome than what it could have been without. So I just wanted to get that point across. But with that being said, dream matches. I think you've touched on just about everybody. Of course, I'd love to see him versus the Demon King. Of course, I'd love to see him versus Nakamura. Any Daniel Bryan feud. I mean, he's still got some unfinished business with Trips. He's got unfinished business with a lot of people, especially my favorite, The Miz. Him and Miz if you missed that whole Talking Smack, I suggest you get on the WWE Network. Shameless plug. Look at Talking Smack with The Miz coming straight at Daniel Bryan. I can't remember which one it was on, but it was right after a pay-per-view. I mean, right after SmackDown. And Miz just went off. He told him to go back to the bingo halls. If he really wanted to get back in the ring, he could do things to get back in the ring. And lo and behold, what was the first tweet I saw? The Miz saying, "Yay, silent clap, slow clap. He's back." So Miz is the person, the absolute person.
Oh my goodness. And if they could get back to that feud, I'm just thinking about the segments, the talking segments, the back and forths that are going to occur between Miz and Daniel Bryan, which we had been saying for the past year, saying, oh man, if only Daniel Bryan could return to the ring, this would be such an epic feud. Now, if we get this has got to be at a big pay-per-view. We might be a little too late for WrestleMania for those guys, but I mean, SummerSlam, you've got to make that match happen. I mean, we've just got to. There's no way around it. So one other thing that I forgot to touch on regarding this whole situation with Daniel Bryan and Kevin Owens and El Generico / Sami Zayn is something that the professor actually mentioned in the Game Runners earlier this week. I don't know if anybody is on Twitter, if you guys still have a handle, if you do, and you keep up with WWE. Kevin Owens changed his name after being fired on SmackDown and went back to Kevin Steen. Where do you think that they're going to go with this now that they fired Sami Zayn, they fired Kevin Owens weeks from WrestleMania? Where is this story about to spiral into? Are we going to see Kevin Steen debut in WWE since technically Kevin Owens is fired?
With Kevin Owens being fired and Sami Zayn being fired, yes, we could see the return of Kevin Steen. We could definitely see them say, well, you fired Kevin Owens, but you didn't fire Kevin Steen, like you were saying. That could be one of the obvious things to happen. But then again, they could get reinstated by Stephanie. Once again, I mean, because remember who was the one who handed Kevin Owens the Universal Championship before it went to Goldberg? Or before it went to Brock? I believe Kevin Owens, right?
And Triple H handed it to Kevin Owens. Shocked the world. Everybody thought that he was going to give it to Seth Rollins, but threw a monkey wrench in it. And what a time it was.
And just think, because of the fact that he had him right there, he can just go to Trips and be like, hey, Trips, I need a favor.
Absolutely. That could definitely be a move with them fired. Moving them to Raw. Where do they fit in on the Raw brand if we get a shakeup and see both of those superstars go back to Raw? Who do we see go to SmackDown and return? Did they jump in a feud right away? Or are we just going to see revamped versions of them both return to SmackDown? Which I personally am all for Kevin Owens being Kevin Steen in WWE. A, it's his actual name, so why wouldn't he use his actual name? But B, just Kevin Steen is just so much more devastating than Kevin Owens is. Even though it's the same person, if you watched any of his work in Ring of Honor or any of his work in the Indies before coming to WWE, that was a bad man before he got there. And just the possibility of him being a little more unfiltered than he is right now, oh my goodness, you're going to have a treat in your hands when he really hits his niche with that Kevin Steen character.
Yes, he will definitely be back as a top heel. He's always been a good heel. I've never had any sort of issues with him being heel. I like him as a heel. I don't think he needs to be a face ever. His face just doesn't say face.
Exactly.
He's got the down.
Oh yeah, he's a heel by nature. You can just look at him; he's smug. He just looks like a jerk. Like some people just look like a jerk. Kevin Owens is one of those people. Like he does not look like a guy that is you're gonna get greeted with hugs and handshakes. No, he's there to kick somebody's teeth in. You know, he's there to power bomb somebody on an apron, put somebody. He's power bombing rappers off the stages through tables. You know, that's just Kevin Owens. When we get Kevin Steen, it's gonna be 10 times worse. But I won't spend too much time focused on all that. It's just very exciting to get all of this happening right before WrestleMania. But WrestleMania itself is going to be a huge show. I'm already excited, not even for the major matches that are happening, but for some of the tournaments that we've been having. I don't know if anybody's been watching 205 Live. 205 Live has been raising the bar weekly for the past few weeks with this whole cruiserweight tournament to crown the new cruiserweight champion at WrestleMania. 205 Live this week, we saw Drew Gulak versus Mustafa Ali in a classic. And I think that everybody who's been watching 205 Live has been a huge Drew Gulak fan. Everybody thought that this was going to be one where we were going to get the match that we were supposed to get a couple of months ago, Drew Gulak versus Cedric Alexander. But Mustafa Ali surprised the world, pulled it out, and now we're going to see an epic match between he and Cedric Alexander. Who do you take in that match? What do you think we're going to get? How do you think we're going to get a 5-star match? What's the quality that we're going to get from this match?
Well, I don't know if you pay any attention to the Game Runners. I am Toya Fowler on the Facebook. I actually made a comment about this match with Mustafa Ali and Cedric Alexander. Of course, I'm pulling for Cedric Alexander because I'm from North Carolina and he's from Charlotte. So here we go. Of course, I'm pulling for the hometown boy. But Mustafa Ali, he just brings something extra to the table. And I think he's got a little bit more charisma, a little bit more personality when he's out there in the ring. Now, not saying that Cedric doesn't, because Cedric is awesome. I've seen Cedric before he even came to WWE. A couple of times. So I know that he is very, very entertaining. He hasn't had the opportunity to talk that much. I don't know how much more he's improved on cutting promos, but Mustafa Ali, he's just like, hey, you never doubted, you kind of overlooked me there. So I'm going to prove to you why I deserve to be number one contender. And that's exactly what he did.
Absolutely. I always like Mustafa Ali. I just love, first of all, the imploding 450 or the inverted 450, one of the top 5 moves in WWE right now. One of my favorite finishing maneuvers. Of course, up there, we got the lumbar check from Cedric Alexander as well. But these guys are so much more than their finishes. I think WWE is making the right move by putting both of these on the huge stage. This is really going to set the tone for 205 Live going forward. And I've already been seeing a lot more viewership on 205 Live, a lot more people commenting online weekly, talking about how much they've been loving the tournament. I mean, we've got Rockstar Spud now, or I'm sorry, Drake Maverick, actually GM in 205 Live is actually shaping up to be a pretty good show. I can't wait to see exactly who's going to come out on top from the pay-per-view. I'm hoping, like you said, Cedric Alexander, the hometown guy from out here in Charlotte. He's actually somewhere in the Game Runners, not an active member. But if you search under members on the Game Runners, Cedric Alexander is there. But yeah, I'm pulling from the hometown guy, not only just because he's the hometown guy, but I mean, he put on a show in the Cruiserweight Invitational Tournament before we had 205 Live. The fans cheered for him to be signed after the match was over, even after a loss to Kota Ibushi. I think that he's really the star of 205 Live right now. And I think you got no choice but to put the Cruiserweight Championship on him sooner or later. I like Mustafa Ali, big fan of his finisher, hell of a wrestler, but I'm definitely ready to see Cedric Alexander come away with that strap. And Just a second. I just saw a notification in the Game Runners posted by the professor himself. The WWE rep has confirmed that Hulkamania is back in talks with the company. Lady Great One, how do you feel about that? You ready to see the Hulkster back, brother?
No, 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 no.
Oh, come on. Are we not over that yet? Are we not over what he said?
I'm sure about that. That didn't bother me. What he did in the privacy of his own phone, that doesn't bother me. However, what bothers me is just the fact that I'm sick and tired of running around like a Hulkamaniac, brothers. I mean, yeah, it's fun with the 24-inch pythons, and I'm sorry, but I will never live down Bubba the Love Sponge. Never live that down. Never live that down. I can do without Hulk Hogan, but if they want to bring him back, and he's more than welcome to come back, let him come back. Yay, I guess.
I mean, I'm over what's happened. I mean, it wasn't like the comments that he made, or what he did with Bubba the Love Sponge wife, were the best thing in the world. But I mean, it's been some years. He's not coming back to a wrestling role, fortunately, or hopefully. Hopefully, he's not coming back to a wrestling role. And that's where I draw a line. I don't want to see 85-year-old Hulk Hogan in the ring, waving his arms around, flexing his flabby muscles that no longer exist. But definitely, probably in an on-screen role, maybe as a valet, maybe as commentary, maybe a pay-per-view here or there, maybe just as a guest on the panel before a pay-per-view. Maybe hosting a major, one of the big fours at any point in time. I mean, I think that Hogan has done a lot for wrestling, and I think that I think that it's okay for him to come back. I'm not a big fan of his, but I mean, there's some guys you just can't knock what they've done for the business. A lot of people aren't happy with seeing The Rock come back from time to time, but once again, you can't knock what the guy's done for the business. Anytime that either one of those guys are going to come back, no matter how we personally feel about it, it's going to bring viewership, and most important to Vinnie Mac, is going to bring dollars. So I mean, that. So, wow. So the Professor John Gotti just broke that Hulk Hogan, Hulkamania is going to be Braun Strowman's tag team partner at Mania. Oh my goodness. That could still be a legit tag team, is why it's even more funny. Like, I can actually see that tag team turning. I can see Braun coming out and ripping the shirt off and doing the voice. Let me tell you something. You can get these hands, brother. Like, I can actually physically see that. That's why it just makes it's something that's it's so much nonsense behind it that it actually makes sense when you think about it. How would you feel seeing 96-year-old Hulkamania in the ring with Braun Strowman as a tag champ?
Okay. That is hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. I personally, if it means Braun Strowman gets the titles to himself, I mean, he just needs a partner for one night, a one night only sort of thing. I could live with that. But there are plenty of other viable options for him to partner with besides Hulkamania. But speaking of Hulk Hogan, there is a spot open because of Shane O'Mac is stepping down for commissioner of SmackDown.
Absolutely. That is you brought up a good point there. Shane did step down, and now Daniel Bryan is back in an active wrestling role. Who would be the next best pick to run SmackDown? Hulkamania. Personally, I don't want him to be part of the actual booking. Just let him be an on-screen GM, because we saw pretty much what he did to TNA. And we don't need more main event mafia and things like that happening. We don't need any more NWOs happening. But I would like to see him in the GM role. It would be cool seeing him in just the non-active wrestling role on TV. I would honestly rather see Flair get back in the ring before I see Hogan get back in the ring. And Flair is probably not going to get back in anybody's ring anytime soon. Not because he doesn't want to, because Lord knows Flair will wrestle with one crutch. But, some of these guys, you gotta let the ship sail on. You gotta give up on that. Of course, this is pretty much end up going to be a payday for Hogan, but I mean, I'm not against him being back. If WWE wants to welcome Hogan back, I'll forgive him. Bring him on back in. Bring him on back in.
Well,
were you a Hogan fan when you were a kid?
I'm sorry?
I was saying, were you a Hogan fan when you were a kid? I wasn't really a huge fan. I mean, I liked doing the voice, but Hogan wasn't really my favorite. I was more of a Sting guy when I was a kid. More of a Bret Hart guy, Mr. Perfect. Hogan wasn't really my favorite.
I was more of a Shawn Michaels, Diesel, JYD. If you don't know who that is, that's Junkyard Dog.
A little before my time.
Those guys. I'm sorry?
I said it's a little before my time, just a tad bit with JYD. I mean, I know who he is, but I wasn't around.
I grew up watching the cartoon, man. I mean, I'm not that much older than you, but yeah, I grew up watching the cartoon a little bit there. But Hulk Hogan, I've never been the biggest Hogan fan. I've never been a big Hulkamaniac, but I did love to run around and try to rip my shirt open like I was Hogan. I mean, I don't think that there is a wrestling fan alive who knows who Hogan is. First of all, let me say that, because a lot of these youngsters don't.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody at some point in time has either tried to rip their shirt open or do the pose or run around and call everybody brother.
Oh, absolutely.
You're a wrestling fan, unless you did those things.
Absolutely. If you're a wrestling fan and you grew up in the 90s, there's two things that you had to have done back in that day. You had to impersonate Hulkamania, and you had to impersonate the Macho Man. Hands down, you're not a wrestling fan if you were in the 90s and watched wrestling. You didn't do any one of those. You're a fraud. Okay? You had to get in front of the mirror. You had to throw on some shades. You need a little excitement. Oh, yeah, snap into a Slim Jim. Oh, yeah. You're a fraud if you didn't do that when you were a little kid. Everybody did that. You know what I'm saying? I can't say I was a huge Hogan fan, but like you said, everybody does the brother. You got to do the poses. You got to rip the tank top open. You got to wave your hand around and put it up to your ear when no crowd is there. It was just, Hogan was a fun guy to impersonate. All right. I mean, even with that, that's just big on itself. I wasn't a huge Hogan fan, but I'm not against seeing him come back. Come on, bring the Hulkster back on TV. Bring him back.
If anybody can be forgiven, Hogan can be forgiven. I mean, yeah, it did make some people upset, but Hulkster, I forgive you. I'll go ahead and put it out there. I forgive you, Hulkster. Come back, be a non-active wrestler, and go ahead and say that. Don't be out here trying to run around and call your 24-inch pythons in the ring and have another WrestleMania 20 Hollywood Hogan Rock moment. No, that ship is sailed, please. But come back and be the guy to help somebody, be somebody's valet. Baron Corbin could use a Hulk Hogan in his corner, in my opinion. I'm just saying, like, to talk. Just to talk.
It's just funny to hear somebody say Hulk Hogan and help somebody in the same sentence. It's asinine. It doesn't even sound right saying it out loud. Hulk Hogan has probably never put over a soul in his life. You know what? Let me take that back. Hulk Hogan did actually put over the Ultimate Warrior. I don't know if that was by force or it was because he wanted to, but I think that's the only time I can think of Hulk Hogan actually putting a soul over in his entire career. But
Please do not mention the Ultimate Warrior. And him, I will never forgive. Never. Never forgive. Sorry. Can't do it. I like the Warrior Award. I think that that's cool that they want to honor people and stuff like that. But they probably want to change the name of that just like they did with the WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal instead of what it was originally. So let's change the Warrior Award unless I do like the whole Warrior thing, but like since he changed his name to Warrior.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you can change it to the Conor Crusher Award. Conor the Crusher Award. I'm cool with
I like that. Conor the Crusher Award. That sounds way better to me since he was a first recipient of it. That sounds way better.
Yeah. I mean, fortunately, I don't want to spend too much time bagging on Warrior. I mean, the universe already did its job there. I know that burns a little bit, but I mean, hey, karma comes back at a couple of people, and Moolah and Warrior definitely were on the receiving end of karma after that. But not to spend too much time on the old guys. It was interesting to see. That's a story that broke this week as well. That's a huge story. I want to see how that's going to unveil in the next few weeks as well. Let's go back into the hypothetical situation that we made with Hogan and Braun, and not really more so much as Hogan, but the topic of discussion before WrestleMania right now is definitely huge on who's going to be Braun Strowman's tag team partner going into WrestleMania, which they have an automatic 95% chance to win the tag team titles, whoever it is that's going to partner with him. Are you interested in this match, and who do you think will make the best fit for Braun Strowman's partner? Not necessarily who you think that the WWE is going to go with. Who would make the best fit in this situation?
Well, honestly, the best fit, he's already been a member of the family. So since Bray Wyatt was thrown into the lake of reincarnation, he has been rendered obsolete. Why not team him back with Bray and let him and Bray win the tag titles? It just fits. I mean, come on. He was the black sheep. He was the Wyatt family with Bray. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, I would love to see that, just because like you said, everybody was a huge Bray Wyatt fan back in the day. I still love Bray Wyatt. I mean, I think that they dropped the ball with that character. He definitely should have never lost the Wyatt family. Whether Strowman moved on or whether guys, a guy moved on here or there, they should have kept that whole thing going. I mean, the basis of his character is like a cult leader. So, I mean, a cult leader without a cult to lead really doesn't make much sense on television anymore. So I think that's one of the major reasons why he fell off. But I would like to see that team. I don't know how long it will last, meaning that Braun Strowman is supremely over as a face right now, and Bray is more so at best, in between, but more. I mean, he's a heel, so I don't know how much that's going to work. There's been reports of Bobby Lashley being signed. Bobby Lashley could be the partner. I think the guy that I would most want to see, just for sentimental purposes, because I'm a huge fan, I would love to see it be Mark Henry. Just so Mark Henry could go out before right after he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame, just one last hurrah. He hasn't really been on TV much in the last couple of months. Let him get one last moment in the sun. I mean, we saw Braun Strowman make a heartfelt post about Henry being inducted into the Hall of Fame, saying that, he wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Henry. I would like to see them go that route just as a sentimental move. Maybe he becomes champion. They would have it for a night, and then, after they lose the titles, who knows what they do next? Maybe Braun Strowman destroys him before he leaves for good and gets Braun Strowman back over as a top heel on Raw.
I like the idea of him teaming with Mark Henry. I said that in the Game Runners, actually, that I would love to see him teaming back with Mark Henry because he was the man who brought him in. That would be awesome, at least for one night only. Agreed. To give him his last hurrah, because remember, he did retire on us once, but it was a swerve because Mark Henry, when he came out and he attacked John Cena, that night was incredible. He still had some gas left in the tank, boy, and boy did he run with it. One of my favorite lines that Mark Henry ever dropped was, "If I charge for air, you keep your bills paid." He said that to the Big Show. That was incredible.
It's just something about a 400-pound man that could probably bend and rip a phone book in half, saying, "If I charge you for air, you keep your bill paid." You know, I mean, when I heard him say that, I started counting up my money right then, just in case he really wanted to start charging for air. I wanted to be ready. But wow, I really love to see that. Henry's also lost a lot of weight too. I don't know if anybody has seen Mark Henry recently. I saw an Instagram post on a few days ago with him and a friend of mine from school, and he looked like, I think she said he was about 100 pounds lighter than what he usually is. But whew, man, Mark Henry, and I mean, who could really actually stop that tag team if that really became a tag team?
Well, I do like these two young guys who I've not seen in a while. Actually, four young men I haven't seen in a while, to be totally honest with you. Two different teams, both of them with NXT in their history. I would love to see the Authors of Pain. Mm-hmm. And I would love to see War Machine.
Absolutely. War Machine I haven't seen much of. The Authors of Pain were actually just in the NXT tournament for the Dusty Rhodes Invitational, which I think they are in the finals versus Roderick Strong and the Bruiserweight, if I'm not mistaken. Professor could correct me on that if I'm wrong, but I believe that is the match that we got, one of the matches that we got going into TakeOver New Orleans soon. So the Authors of Pain are still pretty much out there. Of course, we know their run has got to be over soon with NXT. But yeah, that definitely could be a team that could beat Braun Strowman and Mark Henry, or at least give them a challenge. But I mean, there's a couple of other possibilities that have been thrown out there. Alberto Del Rio is definitely still in talks with the WWE. I've heard that they're wanting to bring him back. I'm definitely a hard pass on that one. I mean, I liked Alberto Del Rio, but I don't really think that there's much left for him to accomplish. I don't think that there's a role that he really can fit in on the main roster right now that would be a major role. I would definitely be upset to see him come in and start winning matches when they still have Rusev supremely over and they aren't doing much with. I would like to actually see Rusev be Braun Strowman's partner. That would be great. I think that the WWE universe would explode if that happened. Two of the most over big guys in the company in one tag team. That would be awesome.
Well, with the impending, what we think is going to end up being a WrestleMania shakeup, like they usually do at the end of like WrestleMania, because I remember last year, the night after, instead of them having another draft, they did a shakeup and having the shows, the pay-per-views back together. Are they going to put the shows back together? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready for the shows to come back together. It's just because when you put both shows together, it tends to focus on two or three guys, and it really doesn't give much shine to the other guys on the roster. Not that both shows have been, on their A game every week, but I think that right now that roster is way too talented to mix up all of the main roster again. I think you got to give some individual shine to those guys. I'm ready for the pay-per-views to be integrated again, but I don't know if I'm ready for the weekly shows to be integrated again,
I agree with what you're saying. I'm not hoping that they put the shows back together, because it will take away focus from a lot of people who will end up getting lost in the shuffle. Too many people have gotten lost in the shuffle already, so we don't need that to happen even more, because they're going to toss the pay-per-views back together. Now, since they are doing that, are they going to make every pay-per-view 4 hours? And like then WrestleMania becomes 5 or whatever? Or I wonder how they're going to execute that. Or they're just going to feature certain people, only the people going for championships? Are they just going to add more titles? I don't know what they're going to do, since they're combining the pay-per-views. I'm curious to see what direction they're going to go with that.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a lot of stuff. The Raw after Mania is always going to be huge. A good friend of mine, Chris, said that in the Game Runners earlier this week. The Raw after WrestleMania is always the biggest and best Raw of the year. There's always shakeups, always new feuds that are going to ignite. We're probably going to see Roman Reigns walk into Monday Night Raw champion that night. There's a lot of stuff that they're saying could happen. Samoa Joe and Roman Reigns feuding for the world title. I mean, that could be huge. It's really going to be a lot that's going to be shaking up there. I really can't wait. But we really still got to see what's going to unfold, because, like you said, that whole firing situation with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn can really play a big role in this whole superstar shakeup. So there's a lot of different ways that you can go. You got to be careful on who you put where, though, because I mean, right now the way that you got things, Raw is really top heavy. SmackDown has not really got a lot of people that are in that heavyweight division that can compete with AJ Styles, but they are a roster that is full of good mid-card talent. So I think that a lot of guys need to swap and kind of even out both of those shows. And of course, it's not going to hurt having Brock Lesnar off TV for a while as well too. So, and I like Brock, I really do, but he's definitely put a ceiling on Raw for quite some time right now.
When it comes to Brock, I mean, if you think about it, he already is off TV. He only shows up when the money's right, quote unquote. The city's got to be right, quote unquote. I agree. He has put a ceiling on it. However, it's forced them to shift more focus on the other titles, like the IC title. Do you really think that one being the biggest title not being held, did they actually need to take the belt off of Lesnar and just add a TV title? I don't know. I've been thinking about that a lot, thinking about the more titles that they can bring up. But that's just me. That's just my opinion. Yes, Brock being off TV and Roman having a championship would be good. Roman's never finished with Brock. Never finished with Braun. That's his whole thing. Like, they've always put on great matches. Now, speaking of Braun again, Samoa Joe would be an interesting partner for Braun. Because, they both don't give a damn. And they both have swag, and they both have that attitude that will mess you up. Joe is extremely technical and really, really good submission wrestler. Him and Braun together, that would be a force to reckon with. I would actually like that pairing right there, as you were talking about earlier.
Absolutely. That would be a great pairing as well, man. Well, just as I was mentioning with Henry, with Samoa Joe and Braun Strowman as tag champs, I don't know if there's a tag team that can defeat them. And that would probably be that would be even worse. I don't even know if the Authors of Pain would be ready for that tag team. You probably have to take the Authors of Pain and War Machine at the same time to take on those guys for there to be some type of chance. Speaking of NXT, I know we're talking about the road to WrestleMania, but WrestleMania is not the only big pay-per-view that is coming up in a few weeks. We have NXT TakeOver New Orleans coming up. The takeovers are always the pay-per-view that overshadows the main roster pay-per-view every time that it happens. And we got some big matches coming up. I think I mentioned earlier that we got Roderick Strong and Pete Dunne that are in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Tournament. They're going to be facing the Authors of Pain and the Undisputed Era for the NXT Tag Team titles. That's going to be a huge match in itself. Yeah, exactly. I mean, just thinking about that, that is going to be probably a 5-star match. I'm calling that one right now. You don't really see a lot of matches. Everybody says they see a match on a card and they'll say it's going to be a 5-star match, but that is going to be a 5-star match. First of all, I always love Red Dragon. I don't care what name they go by. If they go by the Undisputed Era, the New Era, Era for Improvement, whatever they want to go by. That is going to be a 5-star match with those guys, with the Authors of Pain and Pete Dunne. I know the doc somewhere is very happy to hear Pete Dunne being on an NXT pay-per-view coming up. The Bruiserweight, awesome wrestling. He's only 24. He's only 24. That's the only thing that I keep thinking about every time I see him. UK champion, 24 years old. That means that he has a lot of time to get even better than what he is now. He could be the next Randy Orton, or he could be the next Drew McIntyre. But there's one thing that I can't deny, and that guy is real talented. But yeah, this is definitely going to be a 5-star match.
You said Drew McIntyre. That's another person who could come up and be Strowman's partner too, by the way.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. Just throwing that out there. I'll still never forget. Tete, I am the chosen one. Tete. I love Drew McIntyre. Oh, he's got some. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just saying his name. Go ahead. I forgot all about him being able to come back to the main roster.
Yes, and we also have Big Cass medically cleared. He was overshadowed by Daniel Bryan, of course, but he is back too. So there's some other possibilities there. But let me slide back down to NXT. How about the Undisputed Era? They are amazing. Absolutely amazing. Adam Cole, baby, and Red Dragon. I mean, just that alone. And I haven't seen much of the Bruiserweight personally up until like recently. And that dude is amazing. And to only be 24, like you were saying, wow. All I can say is wow. I'm sorry. And then you got him paired with Roderick Strong. Roderick Strong had a great showing in the 205 Live tournament. And I was overly impressed with the Backbreakers. I mean, just come on. That match that he had, I forget who he was fighting. Oh my gosh, I completely forgot. I just watched Hideo Itami. Yes. I saw that match in the Cruiserweight Classic, and that match, I couldn't take my eyes off of it. It was just so good. And I know with him and the Bruiserweight together, all their matches must be 5 stars. I'm sorry. I'm completely sorry about that, but that just screams 5-star match. But I will let you continue and talk about the rest of the amazing card that TakeOver New Orleans has in store.
Absolutely. And the thing about it right now, they've only got 4 matches for NXT TakeOver New Orleans right now. But even with those 4 matches, at least 3 out of 4 of those matches, I believe, are in store for at least a 4-star match. And I think that even though TakeOver beats WrestleMania every year, I don't think that this year is going to be any different. You were just mentioning that you wanted to see more titles. We're going to have a debut title match at the NXT New Orleans pay-per-view. We're going to have Adam Cole, the return of Derek Bateman, a.k.a. EC3. We've got Killian Dane, Lars Sullivan, the debut of Ricochet, and the Velveteen Dream. Just right now, that match is just full of budding stars that could be future faces of the company. This is future faces of the company right here. But this is an inaugural ladder match for the NXT North American Championship. Not the sexiest name for a title, but hey, I mean, it's an extra title, and it's going to be a huge push, a huge rub for whoever comes away in that match. I'm predicting we're going to see Ricochet go off in this match. And I'm thinking that we're going to end up seeing the Velveteen Dream winning that one. But we'll revisit predictions later on when we get closer to the pay-per-view. This is another one. On paper, it looks like it'll be a 5-star match. You can't always really call those when it comes to multi-guy matches, when it comes to, 6 guys, every man for himself. Everybody's got to get their shine in and they've got to get their spots in, but that's definitely, I don't see that one being any less than a 4-star match either. I'm really interested to see what direction they're going to go with Ricochet after this match is over with. That was probably one of the most anticipated signings that wasn't a former WWE guy that NXT brought in. And if anybody has ever watched any of Ricochet's matches or never watched any of his matches, I would definitely urge you guys to go look him up. Amazing talent. Amazing talent. I can't recall the name now, but he's got a series of matches out there outside of the WWE. The spots are just crazy. And I think that if he was to ever go to 205 Live, that would just elevate that division even more.
I believe he had a great series of matches with Will Ospreay.
That's who I'm thinking of. Yes. Will Ospreay.
Yes. I have seen one of those matches. Only one. I'm sorry. I know, guys. I love wrestling. I do. I really, really do. I just have no way to follow the indies that much besides what I can see. I will say that I'm more of a WWE girl. However, I saw this, and I promise the first maybe 3 minutes of the whole match was them just countering each other and getting out of each other's holds and countering and countering and countering and countering. And then for a second, you just had to stop and just watch and all like, how in the world can both of these men be this incredible? That was absolutely incredible to me. I mean, just the back and forth, counter after counter after counter after counter. Just that alone, I was like, okay, you've got my attention, fellas. I'm all yours. I'm watching. I'm hooked. I'm done. And then Raw came on. I'm sorry.
I mean, I'm not judging it because I didn't even know, I couldn't even remember Will Ospreay's name. I don't always follow the indies. I follow a lot of the major stars in the indies, but I don't follow everybody. But definitely Ospreay and Ricochet were definitely two of the biggest names out there. Moving on, I mean, we got the NXT women's title match that's coming up for TakeOver 2. It's going to be Ember Moon versus Shayna Baszler. I think that Shayna showed promise in the last pay-per-view match that they had, but I think we might see Ember Moon drop the title at that pay-per-view, make her way to the main roster. I think she's done everything she can do in NXT, so I won't talk about that one much. The biggest match that I really want to see, and I don't really even care who wins, is Andre the Cien Almas versus Aleister Black. Aleister Black, when I mentioned earlier top finishers in the company, Black Mass is definitely another one that's got to be top 5 in the company. I love the setup for it. The character. Aleister is just one of the all-around great guys in NXT. I think that whenever he goes to the main roster, I think that he's going to be a competitor immediately when he gets there. We've heard about it on Marking Out with Friends before. We've heard about it on Debate Amongst Friends before. We talked about Aleister Black. I mean, you can definitely say that the Doc and the Professor are definitely fans of Black as well. And this has kind of been the moment that everybody wants to see.
I'm sorry. Dream match alert. Dream match alert. Aleister Black, Daniel Bryan.
Oh. The level of kicks that will be in that match if Aleister Black and Daniel Bryan, that is definitely, I think that you just gave me probably my number 1 dream match for Daniel Bryan right now. That's definitely, now that you've mentioned that, Daniel Bryan versus Aleister Black, if they ever get a chance to book that match, I don't care if it's an opening match or on a weekly show or if it's a pay-per-view match, I think that match will bring the house down if they ever put those two in the ring.
Well, if it was a triple threat and we could get CM Punk back, that's it. I would be done. I will be completely done.
You lost me. You lost me. You had me, and you lost me throwing CM Punk. And I liked Punk, but I mean, I just don't feel like Punk is on the wrestling level of Daniel Bryan in there. And honestly, I don't really think that Punk is that much better than Aleister Black. As dare I say, I believe Aleister Black is a better wrestler than CM Punk.
I just want to hear the. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think CM Punk had his ring work was okay. Of course, he can wrestle. He was more than a good wrestler. He was a great wrestler, but I think that he was an epic heel, and his mic work could not be touched in WWE. And I think that that's where I draw the line with CM Punk there. Other than that, I mean, I really didn't care to see any of his actual matches outside of the promos that he had before they occurred.
I just wanted to see the promo. I mean, really, I just wanted to see the hype of it. I mean, I could care less whether or not he was involved in the match. If he got taken out like early and it's just Aleister Black and Daniel Bryan, I just want to see the promo, hear the promo cut between the three of these guys. That's all. I just want to hear the promo. I'm over here. I'm like Paul Heyman. Somehow make something happen here. I mean, I'm calling you. This is a Heyman guy. Come on now. Let's get this done. I just want to hear the promo.
Absolutely. But man, you just really got me thinking about this Daniel Bryan versus Aleister Black. I can't really get this image out of my head right now. I definitely wish the doc and the professor are here to talk about this one. I definitely think they would be on board with us as well. But man, that would be a hell of a match. And just even if Black wasn't to win, if that was to be a loss, I think that match would be so good nobody would care who wins or loses in that situation. There's a lot of guys in NXT though that I can't wait to see debut. That I can't wait to see get some shine. I've had my eyes on a lot of guys on NXT. The Street Profits are definitely one of my favorite tag teams. I can't wait till they start getting a little shine. Of course, I've always been a Red Dragon fan. Sanity, I think they're coming to the main roster. I think that Eric Young, of course, is going to be great on the main roster. He's got a lot of guys that he can go back and forth with. Eric Young is a lot overrated when it comes to his promos as well. I think that he can veer off sometimes, but I think that he's definitely an underrated performer in all aspects, in the ring and on the mic. But yeah, Pete Dunne, of course, I've already mentioned him. Wherever he goes, he's going to be a moneymaker as well. I think that Pete Dunne and Aleister are probably the true faces of the future that are in NXT right now. And that's not a knock against anybody else down there, but those are the two guys that I see the most potential in going forward is Pete Dunne and Aleister Black.
I got to throw one more person in there. You failed to mention Ricochet. I think he's definitely has a huge future there. Of course, Aleister Black does, and of course, Pete Dunne does, but you got to give a little bit more to Ricochet on that as well. Now, I haven't seen. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
I mean, no knock to anybody else. I mean, those are the two guys that I personally see are guys that have stardom in their future. Now, there's going to be other guys there that are going to be really good and, have stardom as well. I mean, the Velveteen Dream is huge. I think that he's huge where he's at right now, but I just don't have faith in the main roster to keep the Velveteen Dream's momentum going if and when he goes to the main roster. And that's the only reason I can't really name him right now. But it's nothing to do with him. I just don't think that the main roster booking is ready to book the Velveteen Dream yet.
And, well, I can actually agree with you on that. I love the Velveteen Dream. I think it's awesome. The match between him and Aleister Black, where all he wanted was some acknowledgement. He just wanted him to say his name. You cannot come up with this stuff even better for anybody else. It was so perfect. It was so genuine. He just wanted acknowledgement. I would love to see him in a feud versus Cena. Somebody who always has this golden shovel. And I would love him to be like, look, just acknowledge me, dude. That's all I want is your acknowledgement. I want your respect. Because that's what Mr. Cena is. Hustle, loyalty, and respect. I don't know if this will actually happen. Probably not. But it would be great to me because of the whole mic work. Because everybody knows Cena has a golden shovel, and he tends to bury guys. And for Aleister Black, I mean, sorry, not Aleister Black. Oh my goodness, I've got Aleister Black on the brain. But for the Velveteen Dream to do that same thing that he did against Aleister Black, just the acknowledgement would be wonders for that character.
Absolutely. But NXT has definitely got some golden nuggets on the way up. I definitely can't wait to see exactly where these guys are going to go. In these next couple of weeks, like I said, we're going to definitely revisit to see the updates on the road to WrestleMania and what else we have to add, as well as the road to TakeOver New Orleans to see if there are going to be any more matches that are going to be added on the card there as well. I'm probably going to brush up on a couple of old WrestleManias just to get the blood pumping. I love Mania time. I mean, even the I don't know, everything just seems more all in Mania. Like everybody is giving more effort in the Mania season, and I think that that's what really makes it magical, so to speak. But I definitely can't wait to see exactly what everything is going to come up to here. With that being said, we're all out of topics tonight, actually. I think that we'll revisit going forward. Lady Grey, when you got any final thoughts for us tonight?
My final thought is this. I am so excited for Daniel Bryan to get cleared. This has been the news that has made my day, my week, my month. This has made my 2018 so far. That was just absolutely incredible. Welcome back, Daniel Bryan. I'm sorry, Roman Reigns. A lot of people were starting to cheer you. You were starting to get that momentum, and then poof, gone with one foul word, one syllable word. Yes, yes, yes. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my final thought. Welcome back, Daniel Bryan.
All right. Okay, Daniel Bryan gets to end the show, to start the show and end the show, just like in SmackDown this week. I think with my final thought, which after the Cassius crap I just talked about him recently, it was recently announced that CM Punk has actually got an upcoming mixed martial arts bout to focus on here. We know that his debut didn't go over so well. He lost pretty quickly. Haven't really seen him since then. But I'm anxious to see this new fight. I've not always been the biggest CM Punk supporter, but I think after that first one, I definitely want to see a W come his way. He's not a bad guy. He's not the best guy out there, when it comes to it as a person, but he's not a bad guy, and I don't wish for him to be unsuccessful, so to speak. So shout out to the WWE guys that have made the switch over to MMA. Other than CM Punk, I can't wait to see the debut of one of my favorites, Jack Swagger. I don't know if everybody knew that Jack Swagger was training to be in MMA, but he's going by his real name, Jake Hager, and he is training in Bellator right now. So I can't wait to see him make his debut fight as well. I definitely wish nothing but success for him as well. And other than that, that is really all that I have for you guys tonight for my final thought. It's been a good episode. We will see you same time. Probably we'll see you once more before Mania to do our predictions. Great having you on the show tonight again, Lady Grey. We got to do this again. And that's all, folks. Marking out amongst friends.